Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here today with the Warriors of Chaos. We're going to be taking on Bretonnia, hence Sigvald, Mr. the Magnificent. Yeah, with the prevalence of Hippogriff Knights, I don't think Kolek is necessarily as good as he used to be in this matchup, so good old Sigvald may make his niche return here as the goon-proof Foot Lord, who's relatively cheap, has good melee defense and armor, immune to psychology, charge defense, all that jazz. We've got his mirror guard to back him up. We've also got the Soul of Damnation here, because clearly, you know, its size and shape appeals to Sigvald. We've also got a unit of Chosen with Halberds, Chaos Sorcerer, Lore of Fire, because somehow I feel like that's appropriate for Slaanesh. We've also got Chaos Marauders in the front line, a unit of Chosen with the Weird Spawn, which are not exactly Slaanesh themed, but are certainly a lot of fun. And 4 Marauder Javs up front. For my Bretonnian opponent, he's got Wardens of Montfort here. These Knights of the Lionhearted already took 1 Hell Cannon shot, lost a few models there. They're going to continue to take a few more. I'm going to try and hold them in this open ground area, kind of on the side of this hill. My opponent's sort of sensing my ruse is going to pull back here. He's got a Paladin with King Lewin both on Pegasi, and a unit of Royal Pegasus Knights up in the air. Spearmen-at-Arms with shields with some mobs. Looks like men-at-arms with shields, more mobs, more men-at-arms. We got some polearms here as well. Beast Slayers of Bastone, Grail Relic, and Pox arrows. With a Damsel Lore of Beasts with Manticore summons. Big surprise. Looks like she's also got Pan's Pelt, Flock of Doom, and Wild Form. Interesting, so quite a few spells there. Not 100% sure about that selection, but right now, just trying to do a bit of skirmishing with these Marauder Horsemen, just sort of pulling up and around this hill, trying to maintain line of sight. Eventually, I'm going to sort of shift my entire formation over. For the moment, I'm just going to whiff a few shots. We'll fast forward a little bit through this early skirmish phase. That's just not the most exciting thing in the world to watch. But yeah, you can see I eventually do sort of shift my entire formation over here. My opponent obviously not really wanting to attack directly into this defensive position here, which is understandable, but we're going to start picking off those wardens there, and the fireball here is going to start to be unleashed. My idea with the Sorcerer Lore of Fire is we bring fireball. It's a very good spell at picking off cavalry because it will pass through unit models. And apparently it does the same thing to Pegasus Knights, which I wasn't 100% sure about, but we now can confirm it just picked off, you know, 4 unit models out of that unit, which for a unit that only has 18 models, that is a huge loss right there. And, yeah, maybe a little bit powerful against Pegasus Knights. I might recommend not bringing them if you think your opponent's going to bring Fireball, because something like this could potentially happen. But my opponent now sensing that this is a very dire situation. Another model is going to get picked off there by the Javs, another few models by another Fireball, and it is not looking great for that very expensive unit of flying cavalry. And yeah, funny enough, the balance power is still completely even at this point, but we do have a Manticore summon now in the air. Going to start diving. Probably going to go after the Soul of Damnation just out of desperation, but obviously Chosen with Halberds is going to stand there and predictably, you know, do what they do. At this point, I'm going to target the Beast Slayers of Bastone as they're the most high-value unit within range. The unit of Cav here, Knights of Lionheart, are just sort of chilling back at the moment. But yeah, the Fireball narrowly misses there. It was sort of an awkward side shot, and the Pegasus Knights are pretty fast, so it is sometimes a little bit hard to hit them if they're, you know, fully on the move. It is possible to maybe dodge them if you have them in a nice tight formation like this, but they've already taken 8 losses without having gotten into combat, more than half their HP and damage, and there's no healing on the Bretonnian side for this particular army. But Sigvald gonna do what he does, take a charge, and just take another one. And then Lewin and the Paladin are going to start to double team him. He's basically having a great time, but the Mirror Guard, on the other hand, did take a decent bit of damage there. The Pegasus Knights were able to do a little bit, not a whole lot, but the Javs are going to stand in support, and the Marauders are going to rush forward and keep the rest of the peasants from supporting and soaking hits in that fight. You can see the Manticore did get into those Chosen, unfortunately just enraged directly into them, which is most unfortunate. We are going to get another Manticore summon, and the Spawn and the Chosen are going to move forward and just start to mop up this line here. Peasants aren't going to hold up to even Marauders. Obviously, the mobs will just die very quickly, but my opponent with his archers here, going to try and pull back and continue to preserve his missile units, but the Pegasus Knights are offline. The Knights Lionhearted are starting to move forward to try and support here, but the Peasants, the Hell Cannon, just not a good combination in general, those two things. The Peasants will take quite a bit of damage, and the leadership damage as well from the shock will just devastate their leadership and lead to them routing very, very quickly. You can see this unit, even with how many models it has left, still going to want to continue to route here. We're also calling down Piercing Bolts of Burning, which is a very good spell against armored units. I didn't actually get that great of a cast. It would have been a little bit better over on this corner. It would have hit more of the Beast Slayers, which was what I was ultimately going after, but basically, yeah, it does pure AP damage. It will delete most cavalry and infantry pretty much instantly, and even, you know, if you get it like to where the whole circle is around a monster, like a Hell Pit, for example, if all of the missiles that are raining down hit that monster, it will still do a ton of damage, even to a single entity. But, yeah, Sigvald fighting with his Mirror Guard here, very thematically, against King Lewin and the Paladin. Sigvald has taken quite a bit of damage, but of course his regeneration and melee defense makes him super hard to finish off. The Knights at this point have come forward, but the Hell Cannon still secure, able to continue to rain in shots here at long range. And yeah, it's just bad news for Bretonnia at this point. Another great hit in there, and the Mirror Guard do take a charge. They don't have charge defense like Sigvald does, so they will take quite a bit of damage. But yeah, the Marauder Horsemen then going to kind of rush in as a second wave here with this rear charge, and just with way more unit models, we should be able to hopefully at least finish off the leadership of the Knights here, and they do route there along with the Paladin. King Lewin, the last one standing for the Bretonnians, and yeah, unfortunately the Hell Cannon going to do a little bit of friendly fire, but that's fine, right? That's fine. And without King Lewin being able to charge, even on the horse, he does have a very high charge bonus, but without him being able to charge Sigvald, it's not going to be great. My Bretonnian opponent is going to admit defeat at that point, and yeah, fun battle. A little bit one-sided, you might say, but I wanted to cast this mostly as a PSA to say, don't bring Pegasus Knights against people who can bring Fireball, or if you expect your opponent to bring Fireball, and on the flip side of that, Fireball deletes Pegasus Knights, you know, just confirm that. My plan had been to use it almost like a cannon to side-shot through units of traditional cavalry on the ground, but, I mean, obviously the flying cavalry work just as well. Hippogriff Knights are the exception, though. We'll talk about them a little more in just a second. But in terms of the army breakdown here, you can see obviously the Marauders cleaning up a ton of peasant mob kills, the Chosen with halberds doing their thing, defending off the Manticore summons, and just generally keeping the Hell Cannon online, which itself got 136 kills. If you let this thing just sit and shoot, it will do a ton of work. 79 kills for the Weird Spawn and the Chosen, 30, so altogether 100 kills. You know, they didn't really face any, like, high-value targets necessarily, but these two even will do well against heavy cavalry. Obviously, the charge will hurt a little bit because neither of them have charge defense, but the Chaos Spawn do have the mass to stop up the Knights, and then with the Armor Sundering, you know, they can lower the armor for the Chosen to do the damage. Chosen with shields also have 60 melee defense, so they can weather most charges okay. So really high charge units like Grail Knights can be a big problem. But, yeah, let's talk about Hippogriff Knights, because they are going to be an exception, and my opponent didn't happen to bring any here. I really think that this is an essential tool for Bretonnia to take in this matchup. So if we have a look here, the Terror, the Armor Piercing, Pegasus Knights are cheaper, but we saw what happened against Fireball. They're just not as durable. They don't have nearly as much HP, and they have a lot more unit models, which means they lose stopping power a lot faster. These guys, the Hippogriff Knights, 6 unit models, each with about 1,000 HP, means that they're very durable if you take healing, and obviously I would recommend you definitely take healing, especially in this matchup. In this matchup, I might even go, you know, double Royal Hippogriffs with, like, if you take Alberic up in the air, you could put him on his Hippogriff, just make him a little bit cheaper here, bring Spirit of the Tempest. I might cut Foe Seeker and Rally. I would keep Heroic Killing Blow, though. Something like this would be pretty solid in terms of stopping power, and then, you know, you can definitely fill out your peasant ranks here a little bit. Maybe bring, you know, the 1 Grail Relic. Beast Slayers are not bad just to kind of hold down the fort a little bit, so to speak. Knights Errant can be very cost effective at cycle charging like Marauders, and even Chaos Warriors. They're just all around a great low tier cav unit. Would definitely recommend. You may want to bring some archers, you know, fire arrows. If you're worried about trolls, not a super common pick in this matchup, but the poison can certainly be useful, so we might grab a couple of them. I'm tempted to grab a paladin up in the air, but we do want a horse for the damsel and a power stone for extra healing. And we've still got about 1,300, so you can maybe slot that into a few different things. You could grab another unit of cavalry, maybe you can't quite afford 2 knights errant. You know, if you cut one of these mobs, maybe you grab another knights errant. Maybe you just grab some more infantry, you know, some men-at-arms, just some regular spears, just to kind of stand around and look terrible. You know, maybe you grab the 1 polearm as well, just for the anti-large AP if you need something to screen out your hippogriffs. Something like this gives you lots of numbers, a few elites. These 2 Royal Hippogriff Knights, you know, obviously you want to prioritize your healing. Keep them with Alberic so you get that charge bonus buff from the Spirit of the Tempest. They also get a little bit faster as well, making it easier to dodge, you know, dodge shots and things like that. The Hippogriff Knights won't get one-shotted by fireballs, so, you know, you have that benefit. Obviously they cause terror as well, and the armor piercing is very key. Even chosen with halberds, which are, you know, the cream of the crop in terms of halberd infantry in the game, they will die to repeated cycle charging, especially from multiple units of Hippogriff Knights. You might, if you wanted to clean up the cost a little bit here and go a little bit less wide, maybe a little bit cheaper, you know, maybe like change it out for some yeomen, maybe downgrade some of these infantry or so on, you could bring Lewin and take the Sword of Couronne. This melee defense debuff is also another great way to support the Royal Hippogriff Knights. It's basically like giving them a melee attack buff, right? Just means they'll hit harder and hit more often. I guess not necessarily hit harder, but hit more often would be a better way to say it. But yeah, Lewin is a bit more expensive, obviously, if you kit him out here, as I usually would. Stand your ground is pretty decent. I usually just cut Foe Seeker and Beloved Son. And with Sword of Couronne, yeah, we would need to find another extra, you know, 600 points, which is quite a bit. So Alberic is a nice, you know, relatively cheap alternative. He doesn't have his own innate self-healing, but he does have a bonus versus large, and that Spirit of the Tempest is honestly a nice little support buff for the charge bonus and speed of Hippogriff Knights, who don't have the best charge bonus. 50 is certainly really good, but it's, I mean, it's not like Grail Knights who have, you know, just obscene amounts. 78 is just ridiculous. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.